emosi atau perasaan bukanlah sesuatu yang kita dapat hentikan atau halang. Dan sewajarnya kalau kita nak melihat daripada sudut sains ke atau kita melihat daripada kesihatan mental, we have to feel those feelings.
Yes. So what can we do to sort of neutralize the trigger? Sometimes you can't really get rid of the trigger.
You have to know the trigger first, kan?
Exactly.
Mungkin dari segi kita ada berbeza ataupun sensory diet dia pada hari itu tidak dapat dipenuhi lagi.
Kesemuanya ini campur-campurkan akan tetap meletup.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, welcome to Kita Family. We're back again. Hari ni, kita sebenarnya nak buat sambungan kepada episod yang pernah kita buat ataupun topik yang pernah kita buat sebelum ini, iaitu big feelings, ya. Perasaan dan emosi yang besar. So, I suppose this is one of those episodes where we consider it a part 2, big feelings 2, ya. And we are all going to discuss it together. Tapi sebelum itu, kalau boleh saya seperti biasa memperkenalkan sedikit Kita Family. Kita Family adalah suatu podcast yang membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup bersama. Kami menghargai keunikan dan kepelbagaian sesama kita, meraihkan masyarakat yang berbilang agama, kaum, bangsa, rupa dan sudah tentu juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup bermasyarakat yang mengambil kira kepentingan segenap lapisan masyarakat, lebih-lebih lagi mereka yang lain atau kurang upaya. So inilah Kita Family, dan tajuk Big Feelings Part 2 ini akan mengupas lebih mendalam. Dan saya juga nak rakamkan lah bagi pihak Kita Family. We are so grateful that we got comments and feedback daripada mereka yang menyatakan bahawa mereka dapat merasa sesuatu yang how would I put this? They connected to it, I think. Yeah,
Yes,
they related to it. Merasa bahawa yang apa yang kita sebut tu pernah mereka sendiri alami. Bersama-sama dengan anak-anak mereka atau diri sendiri. So we are going to make sure, kerana pada episod yang sebelum ni pun Anit telah menyentuh bahawa kita akan mengupas lebih mendalam lagi, ya. Sebab ini memang satu topik yang besar. So di studio pada hari ini bersama-sama dengan Nuri, belah kanan paling dekat Desiree.
Hai, salam sejahtera.
Kanan lagi kakak kita SK.
Apa khabar?
Dan dari Kota Kinabalu Sabah, hai Didi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so there's 4 of us. Anik tidak dapat bersama-sama, but I think there was really great input from her from episode 1. So we are going to do episode 1 pula. Yeah, part 1. Then we're going to do part 2. Alright. Does anybody want to start and jump in to talk about it? Actually, yeah, Desiree, since I am looking in your direction, can you kick us off? Because we roughly had about 3 to 4 things that kita nak cover lah pada kali ini, ya?
Yes.
Ya, kalau boleh silakan Desiree.
Betul. So terima kasih Nuri. So ini adalah sambungan daripada episod ke-88. That was the one that we did on Big Feelings. Dan we thought maybe we start with dalam episod tersebut kita juga bincang tentang memahami apabila anak-anak yang neurodivergent mengalami big feelings tersebut.
Yes, kita memahami dan kita nak mencegah lah kalau boleh, right? Let's get into that.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with mencegah. So in any ideal situation, even for us, and I was chatting with kakak before we were recording the episode, we are talking about prevention first. Kan benda-benda yang tidak diingini, or I think generally that are unpleasant lah. Memang our reflex as a human being is to prevent. So begitu juga dengan anak-anak kita. Not to say that all of it can be prevented. Nanti kita akan sentuh juga tentang macam mana untuk menangani bila telah berlaku. But let's start first with the prevention. What can we do to prevent our children or our neurodivergent friends to getting to that point of big feelings. So I think
Okay, actually, can I clarify? Bukan kita nak kata we want to prevent the big feelings. Feelings ni ataupun emosi atau perasaan bukanlah sesuatu yang kita dapat hentikan atau halang. Dan sewajarnya kalau kita nak melihat daripada sudut sains ke atau kita melihat daripada kesihatan mental, we have to feel those feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think when you speak about pencegahan as a point of clarification, nak kata kita tak nak reaksi yang terlalu besar, right? So it's the expression of the feelings in a big way.
yes.
Right? That's the one you want to prevent.
Yes,
It's a
and
big feeling, but
correct.
you don't want it to maybe come out in such a big way that either orang yang mengalami itu akan lebih terlalu teruja, ataupun dia akan sampai pada satu tahap mana dia akan jadi meltdown dan sebagainya,
Yes.
ataupun dia unfortunately akan mengganggu lah keadaan di sekeliling and things like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's the
triggers.
trigger,
Yeah.
not just the trigger, but it's like it's reaction to the big feelings in a way that is too big. So reacting too big to a feeling that is already big, right? That's the
Yes.
one we want to reduce. Okay,
Betul.
sorry, please continue. Because I had to, sorry, actually it wasn't you. I needed to make sure of that in my own head as well. We cannot prevent big,
Big feelings.
feelings. Yeah, it's what we do with the big feelings. Okay,
Betul.
back to you.
Okay. So, maybe we can start with the triggers, right? So, triggers kadang-kadang adalah salah satu the triggers that make the feelings even bigger when you're already in a situation dan anak atau individu tersebut mengalami big feelings. So, what can we do to sort of neutralize the triggers? Sometimes you can't really get rid of the trigger.
You have to know the
completely,
trigger first,
right?
kan?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So kami
so-
kena mengenali.
Okay, so let's go to kakak
Identify,
first. Come,
okay.
Let's go to kakak.
I love the clarification.
Yes.
I was listening to episode bahagian 1 tu. Bukan
yelah,
bukan
betul.
episode 1 ya. Bahagian 1.
Bahagian satu.
Yeah. Really help me reflect. Yeah. That prevention tu is what we need to again belajar macam mana mengenali, identify apa yang akan what's the word, cause to prevent membawa
Cause
Yeah.
or escalate.
I think both.
Both.
You
Okay.
need to identify, you need to be
The
aware.
antecedent.
Antecedent, yeah.
Lagi
Itu dia.
antecedent pula tu, ha.
Yeah. What, if you like, is the cause, yeah, the underlying reason.
Yeah.
Kami kena sedar, mengenali what is the cause. Yeah. Aside from that, be aware keadaan kesekitaran. Yeah.
Yes.
Sama ada we talk about the sensory issues tu.
Yeah.
The noise level ke, bukan only noise level, the pitch, yeah, things like that. And we sensorially, lights, apa yang akan trigger. We talk about the sensory irritation actually, yang mungkin dalam kadar yang tak sama ya, how the body react, or how the system, our body respond. What we want is to train ourselves to recognize how to respond. So respond suggestnya calmer lah. Tapi kalau reaksinya dia mungkin akan terbesar, it may explode. So awareness, identification is part of that prevention. And environment memang akan mencabarkan deria-deria kami. Yeah, that is fundamental. Those are one of the few things.
There are a few other things, kan? Didi, would you like to add on tentang apa yang kita kena perhatikan dalam kita ingin mencegah atau nak mengurangkan reaksi besar terhadap emosi besar ni?
Okay. Salah satu punca reaksi besar ni, terutama yang ke arah negatif lah, meltdown, tantrum, adalah anxiety. Anxiety ni disebabkan oleh benda-benda yang mereka tidak dapat agak. Jadi mereka tidak tahu. Jadi perlu ada structure Kita perlu manage expectation dan kita perlu ada clear communication lah dengan anak-anak kita. Itu yang bila kita belajar daripada 10 tahun dulu lagi, kita belajar tentang betapa bagus kalau kita boleh gunakan social story, gunakan visual schedule. Jadi dia tahu what next kan, apa yang jadi lepas satu. Kemudian dari segi communication, of course, bila kita tidak dapat berkomunikasi dengan berkesan, bukan sekadar kita tidak dapat memberitahu ataupun tidak memberitahu apa yang mereka perlu tahu, tapi mereka juga tidak dapat memberitahu apa yang mereka rasa. Ini mungkin ini bukan sekadar kepada anak-anak yang non-speaking, tetapi ke anak-anak yang boleh bercakap juga. Jadi communication tu perlu berkesan kepada anak-anak yang non-speaking. Perhaps perlu consider menggunakan AAC, menggunakan PACS, maksudnya cara lain selain daripada verbal, sebab bila tidak boleh menyampaikan apa yang mereka rasa tu frustration. Macam kita lah kalau tak boleh nak bercerita kan. Just imagine kita pergi dekat negara yang tak ada siapa pun faham kita. Kita nak cakap ni tapi nobody understand, tiada cara nak bagi tahu. Jadi sukar. Dengan kan mereka mempunyai cara komunikasi yang berbeza. Jadi kalau nak guna sign language ataupun body language pun berbeza, tak boleh faham. Jadi sangat penting communication, cari jalan. Dan juga kepada macam anak-anak saya, walaupun terutama anak sulung saya lah, walaupun dia verbal tapi dia bukan seorang yang suka menggunakan perkataan secara verbal. Jadi ada ketikanya saya hantar WhatsApp lah, tanya soalan dalam WhatsApp. Baru dah dia jawab. Baru dia macam, walaupun jawab sepatah-sepatah, but at least there's answer. Sebab kalau tanya depan-depan kan nanti dia macam tak nak jawab sangat. So sama jugalah macam yang Desri cakap daripada mula, itu perlu untuk kita faham anak kita. Bukan sekadar apa trigger, tapi their communication style juga, supaya kita dapat communicate dengan berkesan. Dan kemudian dari segi kesihatan kesihatan ni termasuk juga sensory level, sensory profile. Macam sensory needs dia perlukan lebih banyak vestibular input, dan itu yang kita perlu bagi. Ataupun kalau dia suka tactile kan, suka pegang-pegang apa semua, so yang tu kita perlu belajar lah dengan occupational therapist lah, especially apa yang diperlukan, diet, sensory diet seharian. Sebab kalau tak cukup benda-benda ni, itu yang kita kan dalam episod yang lepas kita cakap tentang allostatic load, cakap pasal stress level, sensory apa semua. Dia menjadi trigger tau. Benda yang macam saya cakap yang lepas, ada ketika situasi perkara yang sama berlaku, boleh handle, tapi ketika lain tak boleh handle. Sebab benda-benda ni lah mungkin dari segi persekitaran dia berbeza, ataupun sensory diet dia pada hari itu tidak dapat dipenuhi lagi. And then dari segi kesihatan, kesakitan ataupun tak selesa. Yang ini I think kakak boleh cerita sikit kot in terms of diet, tidur.
So, tak sihat. Sometimes it's just something basic. Like, so to me when masa Didi mengimbas kembali pasal allostatic load, and then if you're talking about kesihatan, ini adalah untuk semua manusia. So this is not the trigger yang secara khusus untuk individu-individu tertentu. Semua di antara kita akan terdedah kepada trigger kalau allostatic load kita, iaitu kapasiti kita sudah terlalu penuh.
Betul.
Load tu dah macam beban kan, so it's like too much. That kind of load plus let's say it's everything, right? It could be kesihatan, it could be surroundings, could be whatever. Manusia mana pun bila load tu dah terlalu berat, terlalu banyak, kita semua akan berisiko tinggi lah untuk reaksi yang besar kepada emosi yang besar. Right?
So tangkapan saya tu overload.
Overload, yes.
Dia memang sudah overload. And sebenarnya bukan dalam keadaan sakit aja. The word yang tangkap my attention tadi tu, kalau tak selesa pun sudah boleh menyusahkan ke semua deria-deria kami kan. Dia tak selesa ni memang sangat juga sukar ditangkapi kan. Kalau sakit memang mungkin dapat perasannya. Tapi bila tak selesa,
kita pun tak pasti tak selesa tu apa.
So bila
what does that look like?
That's right. And we know bila tak pasti, itulah yang akan menaiki risiko anxiety lah, stress So kesemuanya ini campur-campurkan akan tetap meletup.
Yes, for anybody.
For everybody.
Yes,
Apatah
anybody,
lagi.
everybody.
Okay.
Ya.
Perhaps sebab kita dapat komen daripada episod yang lepas kan, bila dia kata cakap pasal big feeling sih memang kena sebab hampir nak menyambut hari raya kan. Jadi di sinilah kita nak tekankan tentang sensory, tentang rasa tak selesa, discomfort ni disebabkan oleh sensory mereka yang berbeza. Jadi kita sebagai ibu bapa perlu mempunyai empati yang lebih, cuba untuk memahami anak kita dan tidak masa anak kita berada dalam situasi yang mereka tidak selesa. Contohnya kalau selama ni kita tahu mereka tidak selesa bila berada dalam satu kumpulan yang ramai ataupun tempat sesak, janganlah kita paksa lama-lama di dalam rumah terbuka ataupun menjarahi rumah yang memang tengah penuh tu lama-lama. Dan kemudian dari segi discomfort pemilihan pakaian, kita memanglah anak-anak kita, especially kalau girls kan, nak baju yang ada buci, cantik-cantik, kilat-kilat kan, tapi anak kita mungkin tak selesa. Dan kemudian panaslah sebab tak biasa dan mungkin fabric yang dipilih tu tidak boleh membuatkan lebih panas, tidak sesuai kan, tidak menyerap peluh ke, dan dia bukan yang selalu dipakai. Jadi yang tu kita perlu tekankanlah sebab ini adalah penyumbang lah yang boleh buatkan anak-anak kita.
Add and me too. Add first.
Okay, so I have one more to add sebab saya ingat kembali, I think before one of the last 2 rayas, kita ada share tips kan, and one of it was always have an exit strategy kan. So kalau ada exit strategy, when we see kadang-kadang kita dah boleh predict, kita dah boleh tengok anak kita dah, okay, he's in this situation, okay, I think, okay, he or she is heading in a direction of a tantrum that's going to lead to a meltdown. So always have an exit strategy. I still do it. I still do it till today.
Exit strategy is one big way of prevention.
Yes, that's a really big way. So for me, why the exit strategy is important is saya tidak mahu Hans mengalami ketidakselesaan sampai tahap sebegitulah. So for me, I feel his comfort is more important than the risk of him getting into it's not so much the embarrassment. I know some of us feel, nanti malu lah kalau dia meltdown, kalau dia jerit. No, for me is and it's not wrong to feel that. It's okay. I know some people the malu bit is a big thing, which is fine. Tapi for me personally, it's the don't want Hans to be in that situation lah. So memang sanggup to have exit strategy.
Yeah. One more thing, I don't know if this is the last thing about the pencegahan part, but coming back to masa Didi menyentuh tentang structure dengan managing expectations. Managing expectations ni, especially bila Didi tambah sebut pasal raya dengan baju tu, managing expectations tu managing expectation kita juga.
Yes.
Kan? So kita sendiri kalau boleh kenalah bersedialah, fikirkan daripada awal mungkin apakah pengubahsuaian atau adjustment ke apa-apa yang kita terpaksa buat. Sungguh pun maybe kita sendiri beratlah nak buat. Okay, it's true. Raya tu kita nak lah macam, especially kalau ingin sebagai contoh something very simple, back to the baju ni. Banyak family sebagai contoh suka baju matching kan. Baju matching dari segi warna ke set ke, things like that. I mean my own family also has that kind of thing. So it's like, tapi kita kena fikirkan, like Desiree say, you have to really think, what is your priority? You think like, we want everybody to look nice, but what if the situation is not nice? Not the look nice problem, but the situation is really not nice because one person is really sad and upset, right? So okay, not great, but
Apalah, bawa
it's
baju
okay.
extra lah.
The baju
Ambil
extra
gambar.
is also from the Raya tip, so
Yes.
we'll put that in our show notes.
Yes.
Okay.
Ambil gambar, lepas tu tukar baju.
Yes, that could be another thing, right? Sekejap, right?
Sekejap,
Again, like
yes.
jumpa ramai orang, sekejap. Situasi yang, di mana terlalu banyak sensory input, sekejap, tak payah,
Yes.
So, a last point about the structure and managing expectations. So, saya ingat dulu, actually this was, I remember when did we learn this? Dah lama lah juga. But okay, Timo pun non-verbal, non-speaking, ataupun nak kata not completely lah, but he it's hard for him to communicate verbally, dan dia memang antara benda yang amat sukar bagi dia adalah untuk tanya soalan. But something happened, I don't remember exactly, but so I have 3 boys kan. So my youngest one, dia is like, dia typical dari segi suka tanya like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? What's next? This pukul berapa? Ni, what do I have today? Ada ke? Ada tak? Ada tak? Ni, tu, whatever. Then, I think it occurred to me one day, what if Timo sebenarnya dalam his own mind, is actually like adik. Cuma dia tak dapat meluahkan. Right? Tapi mungkin dia pun nak tahu juga, just as we have said before, which one of you said non-speaking doesn't mean non-understanding.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Right?
That was what
So lepas tu kita
Ezri
semua
said.
andaikan saja, we talked about it, we're like, yalah, rather than we're trying to guess atau kita pun tak berapa faham, we're not sure, because kesian kan dia tak dapat mengekspresi diri seperti biasa. So lepas tu kita just andaikan lah, kita pun maklum pada dia, kita pun bagi tahu dia juga, sungguh pun dia tak tanya, kita anggap macam adik lah. Agaknya dalam situasi macam ni, kalau dia boleh bercakap, mungkin dia akan tanya this kind of thing. So sungguh pun dia tak tanya, kita bagi tahu juga, and I think that definitely helped.
Wow.
Yeah, so just that is part of that whole the expectations and preparing lah, to remind yourself again. He might want to know. Better you tell him. Yeah.
And Nuri, I love how you remind us kan. It's our expectation.
Yeah.
And the expectation to mismatch sebenarnya kami atau kita yang anggapannya mungkin tak betul
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Kadang-kadang kita
I would-
yang tersilap.
Kalau
Tak
boleh
kena.
kalau boleh dalam festivity ni I want to add to one more about the attire
Oh.
we just finished Chinese New Year.
Okay.
Let me share my story about
About baju.
expectation
And baju. Okay, let's go.
and please, mamas of what do you call it? Teenagers. This is my sharing, So my expectation tu, anak sudah remaja, want to be cool, should want to be cool. Mama wants him to look cool, but Joshua chose. Chinese New Year kami pakai the Chinese collar shirt,
Mandarin collar.
Mandarin collar, right? And I thought I like Joshua to be cool. I said, itu Mandarin collar, pakai boleh buka butang, but inside can wear a round t-shirt ke, just to make it cool lah. Tak payah Chinese sangat lah, too traditional lah.
Yeah.
Let him be cool.
Okay.
Tapi Joshua was very clear, dia nak semua butangnya tepat ada.
Okay.
Okay, and what's the expectation? Actually sebenarnya, I then start to understand. I think when they button up, okay, many people first thinking geek. Betul tak?
Maybe. Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Faham.
Geekish, kan?
Ah,
Ini bukan
okay.
style cool.
Okay.
Tapi sebenarnya I think
Skema sangat lah. Dia macam butang dia tersusun.
tersusun
perfect.
betul-betul.
It's proper. For him, it's
nampak
proper,
macam,
right? Like it's a proper outfit.
Actually,
teramat kemas lah. Very much
Sangat
like
kemas
very
sangat.
proper lah. Very proper. Okay.
So,
So
in the end, sebenarnya, I believe he wants to display the correct way of Chinese fashion.
that was cool.
And that's cool for him.
Okay.
Kan? So, coming back to this attire, because usually our persepsi pun, if it's button up, mungkin they feel panas ke. Actually, it's the other way.
Ketat. Yeah. No, you know what? Timur is exactly like that. Dan bukan saja pada butang di baju dia. Dia akan tegur orang lain kalau butang tu tak sampai ke atas.
I love that.
Yes, he will tegur everybody. He will tegur everybody. So if you are wearing buttons and you happen to see Timur, watch out if the button is not like polo shirt ke kemeja yang formal untuk kerja ke whatever lah, tak kisahlah collar, tak kisah collar.
Yeah.
Button semua sampai ke atas. No taking out. Too bad lah if you are the one panas. Too bad if you are the one that doesn't look like a nerd. He will come to you and go, button.
How amazing. So
maybe it's the Like, I want to look kemas lah.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a connection. Maybe it's an ND thing or not.
So
I'm
coming
not
back then
sure.
to
I don't know.
us, it's actually kami kena sedar the ones that trigger the big emotion bukan anak kami, is actually
Our own
our
thing,
own.
yeah.
Our own big emotion insisting that it needs to be one way.
Yeah, and that is really good. Actually, kakak, I'm glad you brought that up because perkara macam ni and then berkaitan dengan remaja atau mungkin boleh berkaitan juga dengan anak kita yang mungkin sekolah rendah juga, not necessarily remaja, but bila dah ada identiti sendiri kan.
Yeah.
Perkara yang kakak sebut ni yang berkaitan dengan emosi besar dan kemungkinan reaksi besar, tak ada kena-mengena pun dengan sensori. Tak ada kena-mengena pun dengan
Yes.
dengan
Salah
that kind
anggap
of
kami, kan?
thing. Yeah. That is just to do with just mindset, preference,
Mindset,
opinion.
absolutely, yeah.
Things like that is also a thing to consider because they are people, they're human beings, they're just different kind of human being. So
Tepat.
you have to take that
Tepat.
into factor as well.
Sharp.
And
Okay.
in some cases, I think our children want to please us. Kan?
Yes.
Because
Yes, they do.
they are waiting for our approval. And I know this is true of Hans. He the minute he gets my approval or the father's approval, memang happy-nya macam it's like I don't even know how to describe that amount of happy. They wait for our approval.
Yeah.
And speaking of the preference of baju thing, but Hans went through a phase. Hari-hari nak pakai jeans walaupun tak keluar.
I remember that
You
one.
know, but for that on that note, I have to thank our developmental Pete. So she's the one who prompted me, who said walaupun Hans masa tu umur 7 ke 8 tahun, berilah dia peluang untuk memilih baju yang dia nak pakai. Regardless nak keluar ke dekat rumah ke, that is the first step to autonomy.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's not such a big deal pun
Not a big
kan.
deal.
Biarlah kalau dia nak segak hari-hari, biarlah.
Yes.
Okay, we want to talk about the other end of it also. Satu kita kalau boleh sebaik-baiknya, kita memang nak mencegah lah supaya kita tak dapat sampai pada satu tahap di mana reaksinya terlalu besar bila emosi besar. Tapi kadang-kadang memang akan terjadi juga. It will happen. The big feelings will come with a big reaction and dealing with that is something that is also quite tough. So I think let's do a little break and then we're gonna come back and then kita akan mengupas pula bagaimana kita boleh cuba sekurang-kurangnya berusaha untuk menangani reaksi besar terhadap emosi besar. So we'll see you just a little bit. Okay, selamat kembali kepada episod mengenai emosi besar, big feelings, but part 2, big feelings with big reactions, emosi besar dengan reaksi besar, macam mana kita nak menghadapi, menangani, of course sebelum tu memahami dulu. Tadi pada segmen pertama dalam recording kali ini, kita telah mengupas tentang bagaimana kita boleh mencegah, which is the best scenario lah. Kalau kita boleh memastikan benda ni tak terjadi pun, that would be the best thing. Tetapi sebagaimana yang kita semua maklum, ada time yang memang kita dah tak ada apa. Kita dah tak buat elak dah. It's just going to happen, right? So let's talk about apakah yang dapat kita lakukan dalam situasi di mana benda tu dah berlaku lah. Emosi besar telah mendorong reaksi yang sangat besar dan reaksi besar yang well, clearly we're bringing this up because it is the kind of reaksi besar yang tidak diingini lah. It has become a negative thing, you know. It's not just it's a big, happy, cute thing or something, but it is something that is problematic and can membawa kepada masalah untuk orang yang mengalami atau mungkin kepada situasi dan keadaan sekeliling and things like that. So I want to start with Didi. Didi, share with us antara benda-benda yang penting kita kena fikirkan atau actually it's like preparation lah bila kita nak menghadapi dan menangani reaksi yang dah besar ni lah, kan? Yeah, can you can you please give us an explanation? I know you do this well.
Okay, sebab banyak kali dah jadi kan, so ini bukan yang sekadar belajar teori, ini adalah pengalaman yang telah berlaku selama 10 tahun ni. Jadi bila
Masya Allah.
anak dah mula mengamuk kan, dah mula menjerit, dah mula tak boleh kawal dia punya tingkah laku kan, pertama sekali yang paling penting ialah keselamatan, safety. Ini termasuk macam apa yang Daisy cakap tadi, exit plan lah. Exit di mana kalau anda berada dalam contoh dalam supermarket kan dengan rak macam-macam tu, tolong bawa anak ke kawasan yang lebih lapang. Ini kalau anak yang macam bila dia marah, dia tarik-tarik barang, dia campak-campak barang. So that's why again it's important to know your child, apa yang jadi bila dia marah, apa kebiasaannya lah. Jadi kalau jenis yang baling-baling barang, okay, you pastikan dia berada dalam keadaan selamat dan tiada barang-barang yang, kalau dia jenis yang baling-baling barang, tiada barang-barang berharga berdekatan dengan dia. Contoh kalau dia jenis yang baling handphone, okay, kita ambil handphone tu dulu. Janganlah macam sekadar bawa dia ke tempat yang lapang dan kemudian dia baling phone pula rosak. So sangat penting keselamatan. Dan kalau dalam keadaan yang lebih berbahaya, di mana jika dia berada dalam satu kawasan yang kita tahu kawasan bilik tu selamat contohnya, tapi kalau ada kemungkinan dia mencederakan penjaga atau kita sendiri, kita pisahkan diri kita, ada jarak antara kita dan dia lah. But this is more like kalau ada kawasan tertutup lah, sebab kalau di kawasan terbuka, di kawasan umum, janganlah kita tinggalkan sebab nanti membahayakan orang lain juga. So a lot of kita perlu fikir kan apa kita punya contingency plan berdasarkan pengalaman-pengalaman yang kita ada. Jadi sama ada kita sendiri perlu child proofkan rumah kita. Kan, kalau memang anak yang jenis bila marah je pecahkan barang-barang kaca, perhaps tak sesuai lah rumah itu ada perhiasan-perhiasan, rak-rak kaca yang cantik, yang mahal. So things like that we have to consider. Sama juga bila kalau macam saya ada 2 orang anak autistik. So masa anak saya kecil, saya tidak akan keluar berseorangan dengan mereka berdua. So saya akan tunggu bila suami saya ada. Dan kemudian perlahan-perlahan lah saya punya confidence untuk bawa mereka tanpa suami saya. So it takes stages dan sentiasa menilai, kita sendiri assess lah anak kita macam mana. Bukan sekadar kemahiran yang ada pada ketika itu, tetapi dia punya stress level on that day. Bukannya nampak dah ada bunga-bunga tantrum, tapi kita paksa juga pergi, jomlah mama nak pergi juga pergi kedai runcit, nak bawa juga pergi makan di luar, sedangkan kita dah nampak dah dia dah ada bunga-bunga nak tantrum tu kan. So that's one thing lah, safety number one. Dan kemudian bila anak kita dalam keadaan yang sangat losing their control kan, kita perlu bersedia untuk co-regulate. Yang ni belajar bertahun-tahun lah. I think dah belajar 10-11 tahun pun masih ada lagi yang perlu diperbaiki.
Masih tengah belajar.
Satu kemahiran yang perlu ada pada caregiver, pada kita sendiri. Ya, yang ni kita nak minta kakak lah explain sikit kakak scientifically kenapa ibu perlu tenang baru anak boleh tenang.
So Didi betul juga. Ya, yang penting selepas jaga keselamatan tu ialah kami sendiri. So kami sering dengar bertenanglah. Bertenanglah. That is actually a key regulation. Kami selalu tengok apa ni regulation lah, co-regulation lah. Sebenarnya tenang, ya. Macam mana bersabar. Yeah, I'm not sure if sabar is the right word, but I think tenang lah. And to be tenang tu again ada latihan ya sebenarnya.
Yep.
Ya, kena dilatih. We need to be aware, akan sedarkan dalam pada emosi tu sedang menaik tahapnya. Kami sedialah sebagai ibu bapa, sebagai penjaga, start to breathe ke, that's one of the basic, kami selalu kata bernafas slowly, because kami akan mencontohkan tingkah laku ni, as opposed to menaik emosinya, kami tenangkan dengan menafas panjang, long breath kan. We've been through this,
Yep.
and we will always come back to fundamental. To regulate tu is to breathe, so that the science tu, bila kami bernafas tu, we actually activate our system inside us called the parasympathetic system untuk automatically slow down kesemuanya. Heart rate kami akan slow down,
Yeah.
the rate of bernafas pun slow down. Kesemuanya akan menenangkan emosi kami. So dalam kami yang tenang, anak kami pun ada keperluan. So we spoke earlier previously about the processing. Anak kami pun ada masa untuk memperlahankan perasaan dia yang sendiri. Mungkin dia dalam keadaan yang sangat anxious. So dalam pada itu, dalam bila kami tenang, kami akan contohkan, dan dalam percontohan itu is the co-regulation. That is in simple terms lah. So kami balik selalu, kami dengar macam sama je kenapa dalam situasi ni pun bernafas. Dalam situasi ni actually that is a very important part. Kerana let me tie it back to again when Joshua will remind me. Dia ada cakap pada saya, Mom, I know to breathe but I can't help it. Dalam masa kecemasan ni, our brain is not rational. So that's why we balik pada latihan. Practice. Earlier we said what gets fired gets wired in one of our episode. Sebenarnya sama juga. Dalam co-regulation itu, kami dapat latihkan, kami akan automatic menjalankan our own internal system, so that it becomes a more natural part lah for us, either to breathe, to be aware of sounds, all our sensation akan heighten. Tapi kalau bila kami menenangkan kami sendiri, all this will be lowered. So there's reduced excitement, reduced heightened emotion.
So kalau Nuri boleh tambah sikit, bila kita sebut tenang dengan calm ni, it's not calm like chill. You're not relaxed, because how can you actually be relaxed in this situation lah? Sebenarnya it's impossible, So kita tak adalah meminta semua orang, relax, chill. It's not that. Calm dan tenang dan regulated dalam konteks ini bermakna kita masih dapat mengawal diri kita sendiri. Right? We are not the ones who are about to lose control. Okay, so at the very least, kalau kita dah menghadapi situasi macam, Kakak SK dah sebut, anak sendiri dah cakap, bukan dia tak tahu apa nak buat, bukan langsung dia tak tahu, tapi dia pada masa tu dia memang tak dapat nak kawal diri dia, So I think at the very least, don't make it worse. So which is why you have to be the opposite of that negative reaction, right? So at least you don't add fire to that fire.
Betul.
Right?
Remember the Coke effect kan? Itu
Bottle,
yang
Yes, Coke bottle, redeemnya Coke bottle.
That is not a teachable moment.
Yeah, betul. Yeah,
And then,
yes, Didi?
to all the other parents kan, with us saying all this doesn't mean that we had been calm every time our kids had a major breakdown, major like tantrum, No, I lost it many times also.
Yep.
And
Me
from
too.
experience,
Me three.
Before.
when we lost it ourselves,
Mm.
memang tak adanya bila kita marah like macam diamlah, and tiba-tiba dia terus diam. No, it doesn't work for autistic children.
Lagi
Dia
kuat
tak
dia jerit.
Ya, lagi kuat dia jerit. Ya.
No,
Yeah.
and kita pun sekarang dah berani nak sebut sebab kita tahu apa terjadi bila kita dah tak berjaya mengawal menguasai atau mengawal diri kita sendiri, right? So that's why we're kind of telling you out there, not because we know how to do this so well, but because kita semua dah merasa all the times, the many times, speaking for myself, when we couldn't do it, and we know the difference.
Yes.
Kita dah tahu. I mean, sangat berbeza situasinya kalau kita dalam keadaan di mana kita masih tenang dan regulated, dan bila kita pun dah terikut-ikut dan terbawa dengan emosi besar dia, emosi besar kita pun tak dapat dikawal habis.
Yes.
So it's kesannya everything lah. Different things have happened at different times. Okay, let's just say that everybody ends up crying, at least, in that moment, and then later, and then dengan rasa kesal lah, dengan rasa, too many things. So we just, we are hoping that we are helping you. Don't go there. Or like less lah, tak perlulah. Because I think for us, kita ada kombinasi lah. Satu, kita pun tak berapa faham bahawa kita pun pada masa tu kena extra tenang and breathing and co-regulate and things like that. Tapi bila kita tahu pun ada masa-masanya kita pun masih tak dapat nak buat.
Betul.
And it still
That's
happen
true.
anyway.
For me, yes.
Because of the not enough practice. Itu satu. Yang keduanya, kita antara faham dan tak faham. Kita macam, okay, kita tahu secara teori, kita dah diberitahu patutnya buat macam ni, tapi kita macam tak nak dengar juga. Kita pada masa tu ingat nak buat cara kita sendiri lah, ataupun that's the time yang kita like you said lah, macam no, you Didi is like trying to say diam, or like sit down, or it's time to you think you can kind of do your own way, but the science of how the body works is very different.
Indeed.
So
And
trust us, please, that it is this. You kind of have to do this. You have to do this. You are the one that has to be in control and calm. You have to be regulated to help your kid regulate. It's what it is. It's what it is. Yes, Desiree, sorry.
Yes, so I was going to say, the allostatic load again, because we also have our limit kan. So memang what we are sharing is of course best case scenario, sekiranya boleh buat. Sebegitu, silakan. Saya pun sampai hari ni have not completely mastered it, but I try. Jangan tak cuba lah. I think that's the point. Jangan tak cuba, and like what Kakak also said, this can become learned behavior for us as well. Like
Everybody has to learn.
yes,
Yeah.
learning it. So latih lah, So another thing I want to share with regards to in the situation.
Okay.
Kan? So what most of us I think know, but I just want to remind is the verbal command part. So bila anak kita dah dalam situasi tersebut, very big emotions, in a meltdown situation, ideally kalau boleh kita kena reduce verbal commands, sebab in that moment memang they are not computing the words that are coming out of our mouth. Mungkin mereka boleh nampak bibir kita bergerak, but it's not computing. And to be honest, it works both ways lah. So sekiranya I put myself in that situation, say Hans is having a meltdown and I'm telling him stop it, don't do this, don't do that. I'm also riling myself up. Saya pun jadi
You're
frustrated.
slowly getting more
Kan?
and more upset.
Yes. So actually it's by reducing the verbal commands, for me is a form of co-regulation juga. But I'm telling myself in my mind, okay, Desiree, ini bukan masa untuk mengajar Hans sesuatu. right? So just be there for him, reduce the verbal commands. Dengan Hans, dalam masa tersebut, walaupun dia menggunakan AAC untuk berkomunikasi, tetapi dalam masa tersebut, sometimes, most of the time, AAC is also not even an option. Sebab dia dah sampai ke tahap tersebut, nak cari benda yang dia nak cari pun, chances are he will not get to the point that he's trying to make.
Yeah.
Sebab dia dah already reached to that level.
Actually, Kakak, if you can jump in here, isn't it true that it's not just dalam situasi macam ni, kalau kira meltdown tu dah berlaku lah kan, bukan saja kepada yang neurodivergent dah OKU kan? Like when your frontal cortex is, this part here, that is supposed to be the reasonable part, the reasoning part. If it's not working for anybody who's upset, none of us responds to a lot of verbal input pun, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's true, right?
Absolutely.
So could you talk about that, please?
So again, this is part of the neurobiology lah,
Of a human being.
of a typical brain or the neurodiverse brain.
Okay, just a brain then. Any brain.
It's a brain because
The brain.
we need to recognize ni memang neurophysiology, bukan anak-anak atau individu dia nak buat tapi luar kawalan biasa. Yeah.
Okay.
The brain has taken over that in a stressful moment, in big emotion too, the fight, flight or freeze. Yeah, dia tak akan dapat, like you say, there's no way at that time boleh buat AAC tu cuba mengawal, tak dapat cuba langsung. Dia
Cuba is not an option.
Memang sudah terlepas dan terluar dari kawalan biasa. Yeah.
Okay.
And that we need to recognize is when, for example, strateginya akan reduce the stimulation.
Which includes
suara,
directions and talking suara.
Absolutely,
Okay.
kan? Suara, aksi, the hand sign. So that's why many a times dalam keadaan macam ni, is the remaining tenang to come to is in every sense. Semua deria dalam aspek derianya kurangkan. That's why you will see be silence. And by the way, in typical form, Nori, in service industry, you just smile
Yep.
and be
Acknowledge.
silent. Acknowledge.
Acknowledge, right?
And it will be modeled. I think that
Yes.
is the whole idea of the word called de-escalation.
Yes, the acknowledging, the validation pun penting kan?
Yeah.
This is not the time yang kita kata, or like, as if you behave, what they are feeling is not important, ataupun, I remember before Didi, you were saying something about teaching the girls, if it's like a, small situation, small reaction, medium, large, kan? But you don't try to teach them at that point when they're upset, right? That's later.
Not a
Kan?
teachable moment.
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
later.
Desri bilang
Yeah,
not
so
a teachable
you stay quiet, you stay neutral, you want to validate emotion. And then of course, I think like what you can do instead is katalah kita dah tahu dia macam ada toy yang dia suka. Right? Atau ada certain kind of fidget or something. Kita tak perlu kata, okay, here, take this, squeeze it. Just hulurkan lah.
Make it available.
Benda tu, make it available. Bagi je lah stuffed toy dia ke, tuala dia ke, whatever, right? You don't have to give the verbal instruction for it at that point in time. You can just, hulurkan. And then the debrief comes later, right? So, Didi, the other bit I wanted to ask you is that I think there are some reminders to ourselves, right? Because like, masa Didi sebut tadi, bila kita nak cerita ni semua, kenapa, why is it that you can explain this so well? Sebab banyak kali mengalami. Nuri pun macam tu juga, right? So antara benda yang, how did we get through it, right? What is the reminders lah dalam this kind of situation?
Okay, firstly is like jangan menyalahkan diri kita lah. Walaupun kadang-kadang memang masalah kita, but then do know that we cannot control everything. Kan? So kalau kita salahkan dia, kita alamak ini sebab semalam ataupun alamak sebab mama yang terlupa, that's why this happened. Do not blame yourself because kita dah buat banyak. We are doing a lot. We've done a lot. We are doing a lot. We will do a lot more. So please be kind to yourself. And then also, whenever things happen, we take it as a lesson. Kita belajar. Bukan kata macam, don't blame yourself and then that's it. No. We look back and see, apa yang jadi, and take it as a lesson. Macam ingat in the last episode yang Big Feelings tu, Nori cakap, we take note, we record, so we know there's a trend. So itu punca. So please look back. Always look back. And also, nobody is perfect. Kalau you rasa macam, macam apa? I'm a bad mother to let this happen, you rasa you lah punca. No, don't feel like that, because nobody's perfect, and it's not just happening to your family. Trust me, it's not just you. Ada nak tambah lagi?
No, I just want to add one of my learning dari toko OT Kim Batel tu is this ini dalam segi professional tu, when it works, kami cakap that is the therapy. When it doesn't, it is actually an evaluation. So macam you cakap tadi, we take note and then we learn and we try again.
Evaluate.
Yeah, you evaluate and you try again.
Don't think like, I really, we have to move away lah daripada, before when we talk about things like failing lah, just weakness, all this kind of thing. Kalau kita tengok mana-mana cerita atau kisah-kisah orang yang sangat berjaya, all the success stories, I tell you, you point in any direction of a success story, that successful person failed a lot before, if you want to use the word fail. So maybe we just think about it as like, well, this was a learning thing, right? It was something that actually, that person grew from. That's like a big thing sebenarnya. And I think this can also help, right? I mean, this helps, right, Didi? Like when we're talking about trying not to feel so guilty, if we can look back, we learn, we do it better next time. That helps us stop from feeling so guilty lah. Kan? To know that benda tu ada macam ada hikmah, ada sesuatu yang mengajar kita, dan mungkin kalau benda tu tak berlaku, kita tak akan berada pada tahap sekarang ni, right? Where things have been a bit better. Not to say everything is perfect, tapi kita dah belajar. Anak kita pun maybe, slowly lah, if things are in a better place, is because actually something already happened before. And sometimes kita cuma dapat belajar daripada mengalami. It has to be something quite bad sometimes before we learn, right? We don't just learn from theory. We don't learn in a class or structured setting. Kadang-kadang we have to learn things the hard way.
Yeah.
It's okay. I think before we close off, Desiree, I think share with us some last points in when we're talking about this big reaction situation. It's quite important.
Yeah. So when Didi was talking about taking the time to look back on a situation, I think one good thing that we can do is reassess our child. Right? Maknanya bukan bawa balik ke doktor to reassess, tak, but work with your team. Kadang-kala sekiranya kita sendiri or dalam immediate family kita tak dapat identify the reason ke kenapa ia berlaku, maybe you need to expand the team a little bit. So involve therapists, if you need to involve your pediatrician, to reassess. And this is also part of managing your own guilt, I think. Sometimes kan kita sebagai ibu, we take on a lot, and like, we said, feeling like a failure and all that. So put on that detective cap, tapi jangan seorang-seorang lah. Do it as a team.
So then maknanya actually kalau perlu, it could also mean going back to the doctor, right?
It could also mean, yes.
Yes,
It
yeah.
would also mean.
But not just that.
Not
so there's
just
many
that,
things.
yes.
Yeah.
And like in many cases, for us with Hans, so if it's me and the father, usually we would discuss it first. Now we have Kaka, our helper at home. And when we expand it would include the grandparents, the OT, the speech therapist, the cikgu, and also our OT kesayangan from the one who still has contact with him since he was 2. And most of the time, it's this cikgu that will identify it.
Yeah,
You
and so there are times when we need professional help lah,
Yes. Yep.
right? And jangan malu nak bertanya.
Yes. So,
And there are many things, and maybe this is not the right time to go into it specifically. Tapi professional help ni kadang-kadang melibatkan maybe new methods, maybe medication. There's a lot of things. So don't say that the expectation is ibu bapa saja atau ahli keluarga atau penjaga sahaja yang dapat menyelesaikan like satu masalah. Because sebagai contoh, if you are in a situation where the big reaction happens all the time and it is tahap di mana kita khawatir tentang keselamatan especially, right? Or we can really see that our child is in pain, is in distress, and of course we will feel pain and distress also. You might need help. So macam Desri kata, tak payahlah berseorangan, and then pull in the whole team, right? Or maybe you have to look at a multidisciplinary thing. You have to consider a lot of different options lah of how you get your help, right? I think that for all 5 of us, we move to prayer very quickly, and it is one of our big approaches, but it cannot be your only tool and support. Okay, it's very important. We all do it, but there has to be more. Your own effort dan cara kita nak membantu anak kita atau orang yang kita sayangi yang mengalami keadaan seperti ini adalah, well, apa-apa saja yang diperlukan, right? Whether it's an expansion of the team, it's professional help, it's looking at it differently. Sometimes it's unlearning. Kan? Benda-benda yang mungkin kita fikirkan dulu, benda ni kalau kita buat macam ni jadi je. Tapi dah berubah, mungkin sekarang dah puberty ke? Yelah, dia dah sampai satu tahap. Dia lah masuk era remaja. It's quite tough. Or something has changed, persekitaran dah berubah. So many things to consider lah. But you kind of have to consider a lot of different things and be open yourself, kan? Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to wrap up. Ada siapa-siapa nak bagi last words ke atau final reflections? Anybody? Are we okay? Semua okay? Didi, are you okay?
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah? Okay, yeah. So that's also big. Yeah, going through this sebab kita semua, I'm sure sitting here thinking lah of our own big emotion, big reactions yang pernah berlaku ya. I mean, Alhamdulillah, we're still here. We are alive, but I do know at that point in time when some of it happened, it was very, very hard. So, insyaAllah, I mean, God willing, we do hope that apa yang kita dapat kongsi pada hari ini sedikit sebanyak dapat membantulah. Please, as usual, write in the comments, let us know what you think. If you also have advice and sharing, we'd love to hear. So selain daripada YouTube dan Spotify, kami juga ada di all the the social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and we really have to hear from everybody. So please follow, like, subscribe, share, all of those usual things so that we can continue our work if you like our work. So thank you so much. Oh yes, before we go, Desiree, can you do it before I like to lupa? We've got some stuff happening with Kita Family and some happy partners. Silakan.
Yes, so I think I'll start with Kiwanis.
Okay.
So Kiwanis Club of Kuala Lumpur is turning 50 this year. It's the oldest Kiwanis Club in Malaysia.
Sama dengan I.
Yes. So
I am the oldest Kiwanis Club. No, I am like the oldest Kiwanis Club in Malaysia. Okay, go on. Sorry,
so
mengganggu.
and this particular club is the one that started the Kiwanis Down Syndrome Foundation. The first one in Malaysia at that point of time. And so they are celebrating in a big way. It's called Kiwanis Carnival, K-A-R-T, Carnival Emas, where they are actually celebrating World Down Syndrome Day, but they're doing it in April. So they're having an event at Montfort Boys Town from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday the 11th of April. Nanti kita akan share poster dengan QR code.
Okay.
And one of the very exciting things they're doing there is they're inviting people to come over with their children to build your own gravity recycle cart.
Wah,
Wow.
ada
Yes.
I don't even
Yes.
like what is okay.
Yeah, so there'll be a
Nice.
marketplace, there'll be people selling things, displaying things, there'll be food, of course, they're selling coupons. So the reason why they're having all this is to also raise funds for the Syndrome Center. So
Okay.
we will share the poster in we are actually flashing it on our YouTube right now, the poster. And there's a QR code there for you to get more information. And another one closer to home is Oasis Place, celebrating Autism Month via their True Our Heart event. The theme is
Yes,
Every
our
Mind.
annual event. What's the
Yes.
theme?
Every Mind Matters. All ages, all minds, all included. And we, Kita Family, will be doing a live podcast at Avenue K on the 3rd of April 2026. The entire event runs from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you'll just have to come and wait. We won't tell you exactly what time we'll be on. Or maybe Kakak want to be generous to tell what time we'll be there.
Look up for the details of the schedule
Okay.
in the social media, in Kita Family, on Oasis Place. But just a little hint, it will be towards the later part of the afternoon.
Okay.
But come
Not
from 11.
pagi.
Yes.
Make sure we are there to see the live. We are looking forward again to celebrate Autism and Awareness Month with Kita Family together.
Okay, cool. All right. Lots of things to look forward to. Okay, everybody. Terima kasih dari kami, Kita Family. Kita akan berjumpa lain kali. InsyaAllah. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Bye.
Bye.